Alright, with NFL roster cutdown day approaching, the Eagles have made several moves. But which one involving a rookie may have revealed the next domino to fall? Plus, who did enough in the final preseason game to save their job? Also, why could James Bradberry be traded and how long before Sidney Brown's back? So let's talk about that and everything else around Howie Roseman's decisions. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? I'm just going to start with a thank you because this channel a year ago was at 15,000 subscribers, and now here we are closing in on 72,000 subscribers, which is, just absurd. But also, you guys are the best. And speaking of the best, the Eagles announced that LeSean McCoy will be inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame this season during the Sunday Night Football matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars on November 3rd. And come on, that only makes the game more hype, since the Birds were going to be rocking those Kelee green uniforms already. But quite honestly, it's about time Shady got inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame. By the way, that was a joke because this is the first year that Shady's actually eligible to even get inducted there. But heck, that's no surprise since the dude is the all-time rushing yards leader in franchise history, with just under 6,800 yards for Philly, as well as making the Pro Bowl 3 times and All-Pro twice with the Eagles. He also has the 3rd most rushing touchdowns in team history, and still holds the record for most rushing yards in a single season with 1,607 yards in 2013. But having said that, what do you guys think? Is this the year that Saquon actually tops that number with a dominant offensive line? Personally, I'm thinking no, because the Birds will elect to save Saquon and keep him fresh, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, Shady's the GOAT when it comes to Philly's running backs. And naturally, the most memorable moment is the iconic Snow Bowl versus the Lions, where 25 set the single-game rushing record with 217 yards. I'm probably going back and watching highlights from that game at least once or twice every year. Although curious, outside of the Snow Bowl, what's your favorite LeSean McCoy moment? And while you're letting me know, why don't we do a giveaway? Same drill as usual, just do me a favor and hit that like button. And then, after dropping a like, go on down to the comments section and type in Shady, where one lucky subscriber will end up winning a LeSean McCoy autographed full-size helmet via the randomized comment picker during my live stream on Friday the 30th. So good luck to you, and hopefully you fare better than McCoy did in a recent race with Aaron Donald. Let's be real, Shady is not in the same kind of shape he used to be in. But how can you not love seeing the former Eagles RB getting the recognition he deserves? Well, okay, I guess there is one guy who might feel differently.
Please tell me this is some kind of sick, tasteless joke.
Sorry, I still can't get over Chip trading him away. Yes, I know we ended up winning a Super Bowl, and who's to say what would have happened in the domino effect after that, but man, it would have been cool to see Shady get a ring with the Eagles. Speaking of rings though, this squad this year is hype. It's no wonder looking at the explosive offensive attack that new wide receiver 3 Jahan Dotson compared it to a Madden Ultimate Team, while also saying he's not going to take the trade personal until maybe Washington shows up on the schedule.
That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
Think about how many guys are on this roster with something to prove, which is why Saquon told the Penn State alum to keep his head down and work, as Dotson's reportedly already been getting in several meetings in the classroom as well as Zoom calls to get familiar with the playbook as soon as possible. Because, there's definitely no shortage of motivation.
We have a lot of weapons, and I look at that as a great thing. We have a lot of people who can make a lot of plays, so it's going to be fun. I've never, in all of my years of playing, I've never been on a team with this much talent. So I'm not only excited to play with them, I'm excited to learn because we have a lot of great guys in the locker room from top to bottom. So I'm really excited for the opportunity. I want to get on the field right away. So I'm going to do everything possible in my power to make sure that I'm ready when that opportunity comes.
Look, I'm convinced the change of scenery is going to pay big dividends. Plus, there's definitely not a ton of pressure on Dotson since he'll be the 4th or 5th option in this offense. And the fact that the 24-year-old was working out with A.J. Brown this past offseason and now gets the chance to compete and learn from both he and Devontae Smith is priceless. Again, he's got to go out and prove it, but Howie Roseman just proves again why he is the ultimate deal maker and the mastermind and everything else at getting deals done. Because come on, you're doing something right when you have this reaction from another GM.
Howie Roseman.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I don't want to lose a pick, so just throw me back 161 on what you said and you're good.
Let me make sure my guy's there. What do you got? I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Can we just get the higher pick then? Said no.
Los Angeles Rams have submitted their picks. Washington.
He said, throw me back the 6th, then we're good. But
Rams are on the clock.
that's it.
That is it.
Yes! Florida State, D tackle.
50-53, 161. Otherwise, we'll pick him. No, he tried to say it was 210.
Is he good?
What?
Is he gonna do it?
Yeah, I think he's gonna do it, but like he's like, yeah, okay, let me talk it back. 50, 53. I said 161.
Just keep saying they're gonna do it.
All right, 50, 53, 161 for 40, 78, and 150.
Okay, you're a pain in the ass.
That makes me smile every time I see that clip. Plus, do you think that Alec Peters is saying the exact same thing to Jerry Jones? No, the answer is clearly no. However, the delusional leader of Jerry's Clowns might officially be losing it, after Clarence Hill shared of the GM and owner's PG-rated version, saying nobody could come in here and do all the contracts and be a better GM than I can.
Do you even know what you just said?
He's lost it. Like, I almost feel bad for an organization with an 81-year-old who clearly shouldn't be in that position of power. Granted, it's better for Philly's situation, but I don't know how you could be optimistic with him in charge. Of course, saying that, I should mention that they at least finally got CeeDee Lamb's contract done, with Adam Schefter reporting the two sides reached an agreement on a record 4-year deal worth $136 million, which for the record made him the second highest paid non-QB in NFL history. Oh yeah, the deal also includes a $38 million signing bonus with $100 million of the contract guaranteed. Also, just FYI for those wondering, but A.J. Brown's guaranteed money is $84 million, while Smitty's is at just under $70 million. So as they say, the early bird gets the worm, or in this case, the team gets the better team-friendly deal. And who knows, maybe Howie can pull off the sweep of the NFC East by convincing Jerry Jones to trade for James Bradberry. After blogging the boys made the case that a trade for JB would make a lot of sense, especially after cornerback Deron Bland suffered a recent injury at camp that will put him out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Which is obviously a concern for them, seeing as how Trayvon Diggs is coming back from the torn ACL last year. So, further that along, with multiple analysts likening JB's coverage style to Mike Zimmer's scheme, and perhaps how he could pull off the trifecta. But yes, I'm with you if you're asking or questioning coverage style, what exactly does that mean? But that's fine. If Dallas wants him, I mean, I'm all for that. If you can get something back for JB, again, nothing personal, but he's really not going to be the best fit here. If Dallas wants to give us trade compensation back, fantastic. We absolutely do that. But do you guys think this is a possibility? And what are the odds or percentages you see that happening? I don't know. While that may be an uncertainty, the Eagles have made a couple definite decisions already, with Aaron Wilson and Andrew DeCecco sharing the Philly released wide receivers Austin Watkins and Griffin Hebert, as well as O-lineman Max Scharping, D-lineman Baron Jackson, tight end Kevin Foelsch, safety Andre Sam, and cornerbacks Parry Nickerson, Zech McPhearson, and Shon Stephens. Now, for the record, Max Scharping is free immediately to sign with a team, but for the others, they'll need to clear waivers first before potentially being candidates for the practice squad. Also, I realize that this is cheating because I'm getting it out a little bit late, especially with some cuts already happening, but I did talk about doing a 53-man roster prediction, and being late, at least I'm going to get one out there, and you can bookmark it, come back and tell me how wrong I was, even with the head start. So, as of 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 26th, we'll go with 3 quarterbacks. Kind of a no-brainer, and also Kenny Pickett is going to be QB2, despite what anyone may want. Because kudos to him that he at least looked better in the final preseason game. Yes, I know that's not saying much based on the first couple preseason games as well. However, Tanner McKee was also just so-so. And he does still have the more aggressive play style, yet at the same time, he made a couple big mistakes, while also getting unlucky with some drops, in particular one that ended up resulting in an interception. And sure, you could argue maybe that throw was a little hard, but it still should have been caught. So yeah, probably just McKee not doing enough to change the Eagles' minds about QB2. Next up is the running backs, and I'm going to go with 3 guys making the roster here as well. Once again, fairly obvious, but Saquon Barkley, Kenny Gainwell, and Will Shipley. Now, Tyrion Davis-Price ran well, so you got to give him credit for that, but he also fumbled the ball in the Vikings game. And considering the multiple reports throughout camp of drops and ball security issues, I think it's fair to say he fumbled away any chance he had left. After that, we'll go receivers, where I have the Birds keeping 5 with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, Britton Covey, and Johnny Wilson. Now, in case you're asking about Ainias Smith, kudos to Sub-Zero for making plays and boosting his stock this preseason, because everyone knew he started out with a rough first couple weeks at camp, dropping passes and really just not showing any type of confidence out there. But after a rough first preseason game, the Rook bounced back to make a game-winning 2-point reception against the Patriots, and then making several different catches in the final game against the Vikings. Having said that, I realize that this leaves off Paris Campbell and John Ross among several other guys, but we've already talked about this before. If you release Ainias Smith, he's a rookie, and some team's going to go out there and grab him on waivers, whereas with John Ross, Paris Campbell, maybe there's a chance you can sneak them onto the practice squad. So what's the solution, you may ask, with Ainias Smith? Well, it could be starting him out on the IR, with the ability to return after week 4. Since according to Ian Rappaport, Smith reported discomfort in his ankle and hamstring after Saturday's game, and will be getting an MRI with his availability potentially in doubt. Obviously, I hope that he's okay and nothing serious, but this does feel a lot like Howie Roseman's fingerprints being all over this to keep him away from other teams. Anyway, the following position would be tight end, where I'm going to go with 3 guys in Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, and E.J. Jenkins. Maybe that's crazy to say with E.J. Jenkins since he was unsigned for most of last season, and therefore you'd question how much demand there could be for him, yet he has made a couple noteworthy plays and shows up as a willing blocker. Now, on the flip side, I'm also going to throw this out there, but there's a potential that Jack Stoll could even return, since Big Blue View's 53-man Giants prediction actually has the former Eagle not making their roster. But moving on, how about O-line? Where I'll go with 10 guys: Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, and Lane Johnson for the starters, and then Fred Johnson, Brett Toth, Trevor Keegan, Dylan McMahon, and Tyler Steen as the backups. Now, I will say, I thought about having Steen on the IR, but having heard the news about Ainias Smith, and then also you take into account the Caden Stearns situation, it doesn't feel likely that Tyler Steen's an IR candidate. After that, switching sides, let's start with the edge rushers, where I have 6 players in: Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Jalyx Hunt, and Patrick Johnson. Okay, first off, Julian Okwara played well in the final preseason game, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to save him a roster spot with the Eagles cutting him. However, as much as I'd love to get him on the practice squad, he's one of the players that I'd expect to get claimed, especially with some pass rush potential, so definitely worth keeping an eye on. Now, as for my guy Nolan Smith, I've seen all this question and chatter and everything else about the concern for his potential, and I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say I just love seeing a former first-round pick getting significant playing time in the final preseason game. So yeah, I'll call it what it is, especially seeing that over 40 guys didn't suit up, most likely meaning their spots were secure. At the same time, everyone realizes Nolan's not in jeopardy of missing the roster. And let's just pump the brakes on the freak out of Nolan being a bust, because he is getting better. Yes, I know it's preseason, but he has 2 sacks in his last 3 games. Albeit sure, a little fortunate and unorthodox ventures on both occasions. Yet there's no denying the athleticism. And BG has said multiple times that people are going to be proven wrong about doubting Nolan. Heck, the same thing happened with BG. Remember, tons of people were wondering if he was going to be a bust too after his first couple seasons. And also, how about Haason Reddick, who only had 2.5 sacks, 4 sacks, and 1 sack in his first 3 seasons? Although I will admit, a little different circumstances and finding his position. Plus, Reddick did show college promise with 10.5 sacks his senior year at Temple. Meanwhile, Brandon Graham had 29.5 sacks for the Maize and Blue. Yet going back to Nolan, he was only able to rack up 11.5 sacks over 46 games at Georgia. I know I'm not making a very good argument here, but I'm trying to be a little bit realistic too. Nolan has all the physical tools. He just needs more time to add to the pass rush move so that he can beat guys in multiple ways. After all, it's not going to be for a lack of effort, plus this was just the preseason. So maybe let's wait for a guy who literally only got 90 pass rush snaps last season before we rush to judgment about what he'll be. Anyway, just had to throw my 2 cents in there because, like I said, I got several comments about it, asking my thoughts, and again, I'm trying to be realistic, but at the same time, let's just be a little bit patient with Nolan. Now, if Josh Sweat does what ESPN projects him to do, then maybe we don't need Nolan as much. After ESPN ran the analytics report to predict sack totals, with the algorithm believing Sweaty J will end up as the top sack getter with 10 sacks. Which, let's be honest, will make the defense dominant. Because if Sweat's getting 10+ sacks thanks to Jalen Carter commanding double teams, then I've got to imagine Bryce Huff is having a solid year too. And really the entire D-line. Speaking of, I have 5 guys on the interior making it, with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Moro Ajomo, and Thomas Booker. I know some have inserted Marlon Tuipulotu, and that's totally fair, but Booker's had an impressive camp. Plus, just because Marlon's been the guy previously doesn't mean Vic Fangio and Clint Hurt wouldn't go the direction of a guy who's shown he can get pressure and make plays in the run game. Next, we'll go with linebacker, with me taking 5: Devin White, Zach Baun, Nakobe Dean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Ben Van Sumeren. Personally, there's not as many questions here about which 5 will make it, but more so just how Fangio will elect to play the linebacker position. Will we get a solidified 2 starters, or will it be a linebacker by committee approach? By the way, shout out to Oren Burks, who did play well in the final preseason game, but unfortunately for him, Ben Van Sumeren played better, and has shown he's without a doubt the best player on special teams for the Eagles. So after Philly beat out a couple teams on bids for Burks, I'd be surprised if they can sneak him through on the practice squad, but I guess we'll see. After that, it gets a little bit difficult with how many guys to keep at cornerback. But I'll take 6: Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, Kelee Ringo, Cooper DeJean, and my birthday bro, Eli Ricks. I know, Pick 6 Ricks hasn't had the greatest summer, but there's no way in my mind the Eagles don't keep 6 guys at corner, and even though he's had his struggles, I think this is a guy that gets claimed if you release him, so it makes some sense if Philly were to hang on to him. Also, gotta give a shout out to Cooper DeJean because there was a little bit rust out there, but it was his first preseason game in action. He also made a couple good tackles and plays, so I think that he's going to be perfectly fine in that position. Finally, I'll take 4 guys at safety in Reed Blankenship, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Avonte Maddox, and Tristan McCollum. Yes, that means I don't have JB making it, which is hopefully due to a trade. But not gonna lie, McCollum's done just about everything you could ask from him during camp. However, this is probably more of a what would I do instead of what is Philly gonna do with JB, so we'll see. Anyway, as for Caden Stearns, I think he gets the other IR spot, like I mentioned earlier, because why on earth would Howie have signed him knowing he wasn't ready if he didn't intend on keeping him? And then Sidney Brown will start the season on the PUP list, as he's looked really good based on reports at practice in terms of the mental and physical reps on the sidelines he's been getting. But probably the smart play from the Eagles to be patient with him returning. And then the last givens are special teams with Jake Elliott, Braden Mann, and Rick Lovato to round out your 53. So there you go. I feel like I just turned in a late college paper and am just really hoping for a passing grade. But you guys let me know. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What did I get wrong or right? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you guys. This has been the Philly Special.